Am I the antagonist for being annoyed with my housemate for storing their supplies at home for their uni course and telling our landlords, "Hey everyone, I feel like I'm in crazy land. I, 21 female, share a house with 3 other people. They all do some form of biology, microbiology, marine biology, etc. One of them, Jane 23 female, is doing an environmental biology master's degree, and it is causing some friction between the two of us. I don't understand her course at all. I'm not smart enough and don't do any science courses, but she often has supplies that she brings home. Now, you'd probably think like science equipment, books, etc., but you'd be very, very wrong. I've come home to animal bones being bleached in our sink, dead animals in the freezer, dried owl poop on the kitchen counters, etc. I'm not squeamish or anything like that. In the right circumstances, I'd have no issue with this stuff, but it makes me ill thinking about a dead squirrel in our freezer only being separated from the food by a freezer bag. I understand it's part of her course. I've met her buddies and they all corroborate her reasons. But it's unhygienic. A few days ago, I get home and see blood all over the fridge. I guess one of the bags leaked or popped and blood was everywhere, and all over the food in the fridge. It was like a scene from a horror movie. This was a new thing, and I wasn't expecting it, so I jumped back and dropped my glass. Jane comes downstairs to see if I'm okay, and I admittedly lose it on her. I tell her she's insane for this and she needs to find somewhere else to store her supplies, and I expect her to replace my food. She said it wasn't her fault and that the guy who bagged the blood must have messed up. I said I don't care. It's unhygienic and disgusting. I told her to get a mini fridge or something, and I emailed her professor about the situation, asking if there were any accommodations to be made so Jane didn't have to bring this stuff back home. I got a response back so stale that I can only imagine was written by ChatGPT, and he didn't respond to my reply. I also emailed our landlords. I sent pictures and videos of the supplies, and they thanked me for letting them know. Well, I guess they contacted Jane because she came back from a lecture in a foul mood. She said I was a bitch for emailing the landlords because now they're reviewing her lease and are making her pay for a new fridge. However, I am now getting shit from my other 2 housemates and Jane's friends in her course who were saying I was way out of line because now Jane has nowhere to stay and can't afford to pay for the fridge. Am I the asshole? Not the antagonist. In most STEM fields, food storage and lab storage are 100%, without fail, separate. Don't contaminate either. Don't even allow for the possibility. That bag of blood is her fault for putting it in the fridge with food. No excuses. Am I the antagonist for not sharing or talking about my stipend or internships? I, 21 years old female, live with 3 other roommates. This is not me trying to brag, but just giving context. We are all international students who recently moved to Boston for a master's degree. I am definitely more academically inclined and have had high-paying internships in the past. I am here only because I really wanted to get a master's and want to eventually go back to my country. My roommates, however, are in the US with the intention to get a job and then eventually immigrate or settle in the US. This is something they have expressed several times, so I'm not jumping to conclusions here. I have been sitting on 3 offers, 2 of which I've accepted. I accepted one and then got another that I accepted too. I did not share this with my roommates because I just did not want to. One of my roommates, let's call her Tina, recently landed a similar offer that I had accepted too. It's at a big tech firm and is extremely high paying. A few days after she accepted the offer, I told my roommates that I have an offer from the same firm as well and am strongly considering it. I had to do this since once Tina has access to the intern portal, she would be able to see me on there as well. However, I asked them to not share with anyone that I am considering interning there since I want to keep it a little hush-hush until everything is confirmed. However, since this is the first internship Tina had, she went ahead and told everyone that she has an offer from XYZ and the amount she is getting. I had no issues with it at all since it is her choice to do so. In fact, my other 2 roommates posted Instagram stories congratulating Tina and also included her stipend in the story as well, which is a clear breach of the offer letter that says the pay is confidential. A few days later, a very good friend of mine came over to meet me. Let's call him Adam, and we were discussing things here and there. I ended up telling him that I'm interning at XYZ in the summer. He is of a similar background as me and has had great internships in the past too, where it was not a big deal for him like it is not for me. He did congratulate me and was genuinely happy and proud of me, but we moved on and went on to talk about other things. I did not talk about my stipend with him either. Later that night, my roommates confronted me and told me that I'm trying to put down Tina and am not grateful for the internship. I told them that I am and I worked very hard for it too, but I just don't like sharing things like this with people just yet. They went on to call my friendship shallow with Adam. I told them I did not appreciate the way they were speaking, and it is my prerogative to share my personal professional life, and mentioned that it is indeed unethical to talk about stipends when the offer letter mentions it to be confidential. My roommates were very upset with this. Am I the one at fault here? Not the antagonist. Stick to your convictions and remember everyone needs to decide for themselves how much they want to share. It's unethical for employers to restrict talk about compensation, even if interns don't have employee protections. Tina could get into trouble for oversharing, but it's important to know your rights. Am I the antagonist because I didn't let my child stay home today? My 16-year-old son approached me yesterday after school and told me that he didn't want to go to school the next day. I asked him why and he told me that he just didn't feel like going and he was tired of waking up early in the morning. I told him that that wasn't a good enough reason for him to stay home, and that if he feels tired when waking up in the morning, then he should try and go to bed earlier. He got upset with me when I told him that and told me that he needs to stay home for the sake of his mental health. He then told me that making him go to school would only worsen it. I asked him why he thought that, and he told me that the kids and teachers at his school irritate him. This made me concerned, so I asked him if anyone was bullying him or if he was having problems with some of his teachers, and he just told me that he wasn't, and he just finds them annoying. I asked him if that was the only reason, and he told me that it was. I understood where my son was coming from, and I tried to show my understanding. I told him how I sometimes find my coworkers annoying too, but that doesn't mean I get to skip work just because of it. I told him that if he is serious about school being detrimental to his mental health, then I told him that I'll try and find him a therapist to help him manage it. He then got even madder at me and told me that he doesn't need a therapist and that he only needs time away from school. He told me that I don't understand how stressful school can be and that's why he needs time away. I told him that I do understand, and a therapist could be beneficial in helping him deal with stress. He started arguing with me about not wanting to go again and I just got frustrated. I told him that he has an upcoming doctor's appointment this Wednesday, so there's no need for him to miss both Tuesday and Wednesday. I told him that I don't want him to miss days of school unless they are absolutely necessary. He took this as me telling him that his mental health wasn't important, and then he started telling me that I must not love him if I send him to school. He then told me that if I try and force him to see a therapist, I'll have something else to worry about. I asked him to clarify what he meant by that, but he didn't specify. He just told me not to worry about it and to leave him alone. Cut to this morning, he was very hostile with me from the moment he woke up and was practically ignoring me whenever I tried to speak to him. Then when I dropped him off at school, he told me that he finds it weird that I hate him so much and don't want him to succeed in life. Then before I could say anything, he got out of the car quickly. When I picked him up from school today, I tried to talk about what happened and what he said, but he just ignored me and is still not speaking to me. Why is nobody else talking about the fact that the kid got aggressive even to the extent of threatening her when she said no? I feel like that may be the bigger problem here. But at that age, allowing them a mental health day once or twice a year is not going to hurt them academically, but can teach them the importance of self-care. A lot of adults don't know how to do self-care and keep pushing through until they crack. You're clearly willing to help him if he's willing to help you by explaining what the problem is, so you can work together to address it. Do I have a conversation about this again with them? I have been in a long-distance relationship for around 8 months. We have some intentions of closing the distance in the future, and no interest in seeing other people in the meantime. It started off great, and we were really close, but slowly the other person has been communicating with me less and less, and we've been less close. For example, we don't call anymore, and they have said they're not up to it but want to another day enough that I've stopped asking. We used to text all the time. Unsustainable, and I don't expect that. And now on bad weeks I'll be left undelivered for 2 days. We've both been busy, but I feel like this goes beyond a full schedule. I've brought up feeling like I'm being pushed away twice already, about 4 months ago and about 2 months ago, and asked if there's anything I can do better or to help. I also asked if I was doing something to upset them and if they were still interested. They told me that they're overwhelmed by everything they're feeling and subconsciously are pushing away from that. And that being so overwhelmed by recent events, work has been hell, and they've been sick and napping on days off every week this year hasn't helped. Some of those reasons are definitely excuses because their social media activity is not always consistent with someone who is asleep. I'm totally okay with that. I think they just need space, but I wish they would be honest and tell me that instead of insisting, there's nothing I can do. It's kind of clear to me now that they're not always going to advocate for what they need, so I should figure it out myself. They also made it very clear they're still interested in going forward as more than friends, so I'm not worried about that. I'm posting this because I feel hurt and unimportant more often than I'm okay with, and I'm confused about what to do. I've given them some more space, texting much less often, to try and help everything feel less overwhelming. It's been 2 months since we last talked about being avoidant, when they said they'd do better at not ignoring me, and since then things feel the same or even a little worse now. I'm very bad at knowing intuitively how to help someone avoidant deal with their emotions. I can do what I'm asked, but I've got no instincts. Do I bring this topic up a third time? What should I do to help, and how do I phrase things to not sound demanding? Would it be selfish to consider moving on? In summary, my long-distance partner is being avoidant. We discussed it, and it's still happening. I'm not sure if I should or how to talk about it again. Absolutely stunning work. The attention to detail is incredible. Just when you think you've seen it all, someone comes along and surprises you. I can't stop looking at this. It's just so mesmerizing. My partner has doubts about wanting children. If you do not enjoy children, do not invest your time in this person. We have been in a relationship for 6 years. We had this discussion right from the start. I made sure to communicate that I desired to have at least 1 child. He has 1 child already from a previous marriage. We became pregnant in 2020, but unfortunately, I had a miscarriage. He seemed thrilled about the baby but was sad when we lost the baby. We made the decision to purchase a larger house in preparation. He was excited to see the ultrasound and other things related to the pregnancy. He proposed to me 2 years ago while I was still in college, and since then we have been taking our time with wedding planning. Approximately 4 months ago, he came to me, expressing his fears and concerns. He felt he was getting older, and by the time the child turned 18, he would be quite old. He worried about the possibility of divorce and child support if things did not work out. I shared with him my strong desire to have a child. However, he was anxious about our relationship and feared that I would leave him. I reassured him that it was okay if he did not want a child, but he needed to communicate his feelings so I could move forward with my life. I offered him time and understanding, despite the difficulty of the situation. He eventually told me that he loves me and wants to be with me, even if that means having a child. Wedding planning began about 2 months later. We have arranged for a photographer, food, venue, honeymoon, and DJ. One day, after he had worked nights and had to go back to work at night, I woke up feeling irritable and hungry. I was upset that he had not prepared any food for me to eat when I woke up or take to work. He pointed out some leftovers, but I was still upset. I later apologized for overreacting. The next day, he mentioned that he was unsure about having a baby because of concerns about losing it easily. He is quite skilled at cooking and keeping the house tidy. Regardless, I became extremely angry. I expressed my thoughts that I deserve someone who truly desires to have a child and a life with me without me having to persuade them. I mentioned my concerns about not wanting to have this issue hanging over us for another year after the wedding and honeymoon. I expressed my fatigue from trying to coerce him into something he clearly does not want. I began to worry about the possibility of never finding someone who loves me and becoming a bitter aunt who drinks because of loneliness. I am now contemplating whether I acted too quickly or if he is merely making excuses and experiencing cold feet. I wonder how difficult the current dating scene is. I have heard terrifying stories on Instagram. In summary, we initially agreed on having children, but he now has doubts on 2 occasions. I am now reconsidering continuing the relationship with him. It's clear that this man does not want children, and trying to change his mind will only lead to resentment. People who do not truly want children will not make good parents, so it's best to find someone who shares your desires. It's important to be in a relationship where both partners respect each other and have a mutual understanding of what they want for the future. I'm wondering if the housework is spread unevenly between me and my partner. Basically what the title says. Me and my boyfriend have been living together with roommates for 2 years, but this year, starting about 6 months ago, we moved into a 1-bedroom together. Things have been going super well, I think. We have the occasional scuffle. They've been getting more frequent, but that's besides the point. We have 2 cats, and for some reason, I've always been responsible for taking care of them solely, feeding them, taking care of their water fountains, buying litter, buying food, even the expensive medicated stuff, changing litter, playing with them, etc. I don't mind, except the buying litter and food part. We talked about it and now we split those costs, thank God. When we moved in together, we talked about splitting chores. We landed on him doing the kitchen, I do the bathroom, we split the living room. We have our 2 separate sides of the bedroom we keep however we like. Seems fair. Well, now that we're 6 months in, things seem to have shifted. He now barely takes care of the kitchen, maybe once a month if he feels like it, so that means I do it most of the time, and that means I clean the whole apartment by myself. When he does clean the kitchen, it's really half-assed, and he even asks me to help him. He never plays with the kitties unless I really beg him to, even though they love it when he does. Right now I'm cleaning the kitchen where it needs it, the living room by myself, the bathroom, taking care of the cats, and every time I bring this up I get met with, "You're only working 2 days a week. Why are you complaining?" Which is true, but that only started a little bit ago, and these issues persisted before that. And before the 2-day work week, it was, most of everything that's messy is your stuff anyways. I shouldn't have to be cleaning up your stuff. Which, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, it doesn't mean I should have to clean everything, right? That's why I'm writing this post. I need some perspective. I guess this works out as of the past few weeks my work schedule has changed up, so that I only work weekends at the moment, but that's changing, because soon, I'll be working with only 1 day off a week. These issues have persisted longer, however. Even when I was working overtime, it was like this. He is really good about taking out garbage recycling when he's leaving, so that's good, I guess. The past week I've been dealing with terrible, and I mean awful, mental health. I have bipolar and am in an episode which thank God he can never understand or relate to, but I can hardly get out of bed, respond to friends, do anything that requires being a human. He doesn't understand this. It means the apartment looks a mess. He's been very upset at this, which yeah, I guess, and most of it is my stuff. He really wants me to clean it, but all I can get myself to do is scoop the litter box, and even that feels like a marathon. He's upset and just wants me to clean the apartment, and honestly I do too, but I feel like I can't. And I hate it. But I'm also frustrated with the situation, not sure if I'm in the wrong here. It sparked an argument, and he says that he hates fighting every day, and that he can't do it, which I get. I'm not sure if I provided enough details to be helpful, but if y'all have any questions, please let me know. I just need some outsider perspective. Thanks y'all. TLDR. My boyfriend, 23 years old, and I, 22 years old, aren't keeping our agreements on cleaning that we set when we first moved in together, and I'm doing all the cleaning around the apartment unless extenuating circumstances are involved. If you're making a mess, clean up after yourself. Splitting chores between partners shouldn't be an even 50-50 split all the time. Love means wanting to do things for the other person, not keeping score of who does more. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.